Miles and I just wanted to give a quick manager update at this stage. Our business plan has always been to eventually set up an Australian office of Staude Capital to complement our London base. In simple terms, there were kind of three drivers for that logic. Miles, I might ask you to talk about the first driver, and I'll talk about the second two, if that works for you.
Okay, sure. I mean, we've been planning for this for so long now. It's strange to run through the original rationale, but I mean, from an investing point of view, and this is no surprise to anyone, Asia's become like an enormously large and important part of the markets in its own right, especially over the last decade, last 15, 20 years I've been away from London. And a market that's growing enormously, growing much faster than Europe and North America. Over the life, and we invest all around the world. We've got investments in every time zone at any one point in time. Over the life of GVF, probably about a third of our capital has been invested in Asia. And given that the capital markets in that region are a bit less developed than Europe and North America, we probably do a little bit too much of our focus. They're a lot less efficient and can be, for that reason, can be very profitable places for us to invest in. Or to say another way, that means that the third of the capital we've invested in Asia over the life of GVF has generated a good bit more than a third of the profits of the company. So we've always wanted to have an office in the region to allow us to focus on some of these opportunities, especially in this fast-growing market. It's always been a struggle to really do that effectively from the London time zone on its own. So that from an investing point of view, that's always been the driver.
Absolutely. And then there's been two other drivers. The second one, and probably the most important reason, the large majority of our clients are in Australia. And that will always be the case for our business. One of the important elements of running a LIC is effective shareholder engagement. And we've always been hamstrung trying to do that from London. The last 2 years of being in lockdown has particularly demonstrated to us that it's very difficult to run a client business the way you'd like to when you struggle to spend any time with your clients. So that was very important to us. And then I guess finally, the last reason is a personal one. You know, it's no secret that Australia is God's country. I mean, Miles has spent the last 5 years taking me around the entire...
And God's rugby team.
No, well, I mean, let's just calm down there. We've always wanted our children to grow up in the sunshine, and we have a lot of family in Australia. So our plan from a personal level has always been to move when the time was right. And from a business point of view, what we wanted to achieve before we put this plan into effect was we wanted to launch our second and our last fund. This is an offering that is open for large endowment funds that we've been working on for some time. Pleasingly, we have done this now. Our second fund began trading on the 1st of July with a sizable investment from a large Asian endowment. The second key thing was to ensure we had the skill set and the resourcing in London for us to open that second office in a different time zone. And we have that now with Mark Ambrose as a senior member of the team who will run London for us. In addition, we'll be making another junior hire to complement the London team on the portfolio management side. So we really are beefing up London. So we've grown to a level now where it is time for us to make that move to us and set up the Australian office. London will always be Staude's headquarters, but Miles and I are looking at making a move in about a year from now to Australia to set up that second office. And over time, we would expect to make 1 or 2 hires in Australia as well. There were a few questions on this topic from Mr. Lee Chan, Denzel Griffiths, and also Jim Lord. I'm hopeful that I've answered the questions that you asked. But if you have any follow-up questions that you'd like to ask me, please do drop me a line. And the second thing to touch on in terms of a manager update is just to expand on the point I mentioned earlier that we've now launched our second and our final fund. As a reminder for all of you, we've always set out that we will cap our strategy at 500 million, 300 of which we will allocate to GVF and about 150 to our second fund, which we've called SVF. In the world of investment management, a 500 million AUM business is actually tiny. You know, most asset managers aspire to run billions of dollars, but this has never been what has motivated us. And just wanted to reiterate those numbers to you. The new fund offering has been set up, as I said, to cater to large endowment funds. So generally universities and other large foundations, most of whom will be in the US. It's a very similar, SVF has a very similar mandate to GVF, and it has the same headline fees. Given it is mainly for US investors, it will be denominated in US dollars, and it's a fund that is incorporated in the Cayman Islands. The fund also has a $2 million US dollar minimum investment amount. Now, the US dollar fund may be suitable to some Australian investors, and we are happy to talk to anyone who might have an interest in investing in US dollars. We also are considering a friends and family reduction to the initial minimum for GVF, but just to say that the minimum required will still be quite sizable. Please message me directly if you have any interest, and we can take things from there.